everyone. Welcome back to DisLife Stories, the podcast where we dive into real conversations about life, illness, resilience, and everything in between. I'm your host today, Erika White. Today's episode, it's a tough one, but also a powerful one. I'm speaking with a parent whose 4-year-old daughter was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor called ependymoma. She's already undergone brain surgery, and right now her chances over the next 5 years sit at just under 50%. We're going to talk about what it's like to receive that kind of news, how it's changed their family's daily life, and the emotional roller coaster of parenting through fear, hope, uncertainty. The conversation will probably be pretty raw, but it's also a conversation of love and strength. If you're a parent or just someone who wants to understand what these families go through, I think this episode will really stay with you. So that being said, to start, good evening, Renee. Thank you so much for being on our show with us.
Yes, good evening, Erica. Thank you all for having me.
Can you take us back to when you first noticed something wrong or something was off with your daughter, like what the signs were?
Really, now that I think about it since her diagnosis, I would say, it's kind of mixed between, I've heard it's a fast growing and I've heard it's a slow growing tumor. So if it's a slow growing tumor, it really started back when she was about probably a year old. We had to have tubes put in her ears because she pretty much had constant ear infections, and due to that, she has a speech delay. So her ENT suggested the tubes, and he said, with her having so much fluid on her ears all the time, it could have delayed her speech. But now looking back, it could have been the tumor that was growing. I'm not real sure. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But when we really started noticing something was wrong was, I would say, last summer. She would get to where she would kind of curl up in the fetal position and had her face like in the pillows. She would never tell us her head was hurting. We just figured she was tired. And it come out to be headaches. So it really started with headaches. And
Okay.
then, that was every so often. And then it started with vomiting. She would, she would go She'd maybe vomit once a day, and then a couple days would go by, and she'd do it again. So we just thought it was just, maybe it was like a viral infection or something that was getting her sick, and she would get over it. And then
Oh.
she didn't. It just kept getting worse, and it was eventually happening
Oh.
3, 4, 5 times a day with the vomiting spells. Yes,
Wow.
and she got to where she couldn't walk. And we thought it was just a phase. She just wanted to be, carried around. She was 3 at the time. So we just figured it was just a phase.
Toddler.
So, we would just carry her around. We didn't know it was because there was a tumor. So we were going back and forth with her pediatrician on different medications for like vomiting. They was thinking it was what they call cyclic vomiting syndrome.
Hmm.
Because
Never
it
heard of
matched
that.
so perfectly with what she was
Hmm.
experiencing. So we did that, and none of the medicines were working. Then we were referred to a GI specialist, and it was just kind of like a couple months of back and forth. And then we just had to take her. We had to take her somewhere else to get a second opinion, and that's when we found out.
So the doctors were kind of saying, no, it's this, no, it's this. And you just went and said, no, we're going someplace else. We're getting the answers that we need.
Yes.
When you got that diagnosis of ependymoma, what kind of reaction did you all have? Do you remember thoughts that might have gone through your head?
Yeah, actually, we with the way it all happened, we took her to Children's. They came back and said, it's a tumor on her brain, and of course that throws anybody for a loop. No one really expects to hear that. And so after that, and then she had to have the EVD placed on her brain to drain the fluid and stuff off.
EBD?
I can't, no, I don't,
EBD is like a shunt?
Yes, a shunt. It's like a
Okay.
temporary shunt put in. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
I should have
No, that's
clarified that.
okay.
But you know, but she had that put on her brain to drain it off, and then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna do a craniotomy to get this out." And they said it's gonna take it could take up to a week for the results to come back because they could test some of it in the OR, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like a confirmed diagnosis from the OR. It was just kind of
Gotcha.
like a guideline of what we should expect. And the results from the OR were inconclusive. They couldn't test it. They didn't know what it was, possibly. So we were in the hospital while we were still waiting for her diagnosis to come through. And when they came in and they said this big word, and I was like, what
Yeah.
does this mean? Like, I've never
Yeah.
heard
That
it.
phone comes out, Google search furiously looking words up. Yes.
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 And we tried so hard not to kind of beat them to the punch because we didn't want to sit here and worry about if that was actually because I'm nosy. I read through her previous her admission notes from the hospital, and they actually put in there
Okay.
what they thought it was. So as soon as I read that,
Okay.
I was googling. Like I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta know something. This is killing me. So it was a lot. We were just kind of like ependymoma. What does this mean for her now? What does this mean for her later on? Like what does this entail? Because it's so different, and um, they were kind of we don't see this often at all. So if we need to refer out, we can refer out, whichever y'all are comfortable with. So
Was her recovery from that surgery?
my goodness, well it was really hard with her having been sick for a couple months, and then
Mhm.
being in the hospital where you're being poked and prodded, and at the hospital she was at, it's a teaching hospital, so you would have like 10 doctors coming in one time in the mornings and round on her, and she would just, it would figure out, which I don't blame her.
Yeah.
So she, on top of that, she had to relearn pretty much everything: how to eat, how to walk, how to talk. Um, he, and she was on the feeding, she had a NG tube. I believe they call it an NG tube where they feed it down through your nose. She was on that for a couple of days
Okay.
because she had lost, oh my gosh, she had lost, I know, at least 4 pounds in a week just from vomiting.
Wow.
It was really bad.
My gosh.
So we had to do a swallow
That's
test so
brutal.
she wouldn't aspirate on her food. So she's sitting there, she's got a black eye, and
Hmm.
this eye over here is crossed, and she's kind of just there, but she wants to eat food. So we had to do all that, and
Yeah.
it was really hard. We couldn't, with the EVD, there was only so much they could move around without it having to be adjusted, to be leveled with their head. So you tell a 3-year-old they
It's a
can't move
toddler.
around, it's very frustrating for them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it
Well, I
was a
mean,
hard one for her. It really was.
it's got to be frustrating for everybody in that circumstance because, I mean, this is your child. You want them to be able to explore and to learn and to grow. And knowing as a parent that your child is frustrated like that and you can't do
Yeah.
anything.
No,
My
it's so
Lord.
hard. Yeah.
Were they ever able to get the entire tumor?
They were not. From what her surgeon told us was that, sorry, excuse me, her tumor
Mhm.
was the biggest one he's ever removed from the posterior fossa. So it was a very large
Wow.
tumor. And yeah, and he said it was like pretty much meshed to her brainstem. So he had to leave spots on her brainstem just to keep from furthering the complications from the surgery. So I
Okay.
think he was able to get about 90% out, and then he
Okay.
cauterized the other spots on her brainstem.
Does she have more treatment going forward? Are they concerned about regrowth?
They said it's more likely to recur with the group A. So after she had surgery in September, we took her to Atlanta to be fitted for her radiation mask in early October. And from the end of October to like the middle of December of last year, she was getting what they call proton radiation, where it's more of a
Okay.
localized beam to the brain, so it doesn't
Okay.
affect all of the, like it's
Right.
more
It's
targeted. So
not broad spectrum.
yeah. So,
Okay.
and since then she hasn't had any growths, any new lesions. She's been stable
Right.
since then. So yeah.
Prayers that that continues, definitely.
Yes, yes.
What would you say has been the hardest part of this journey for you all so far?
That's a tough one. It's all been very hard, but I would have to say it's it has to be the adjustment between having a healthy, happy child to one that we don't know really anything about the future other than, the more it recurs, the less chances they have of being able to resect it all, and
Right.
what the impairments for her can be when she does start getting older, and how that's going to affect her and her quality of life. That's really what we're concerned about.
Okay. Have you had like the grief before grief where the fear is overwhelming and you almost mourn even though that your child is still there, but there's fears, obviously.
Yeah,
Any
it's been I cycle through that one quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it. What would you say a good day looks like for you all now?
Well, a good day would be when when she wakes up and she's in a good mood, and she wants to play, she wants to explore, and she acts like she's never been sick.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to
So
be great.
it's yeah, it's kind of like having a flashback to before this all happened. Is seeing her do the natural things she used to do. That's what we call a good day around here. So yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. What would you say helps you get through the hard days or the really hard ones?
The really hard days. Uh, we try to be as optimistic as possible. We try to think it's not going to be like this forever. Will be good days that come, and you know, eventually there'll be some kind of breakthrough with the study of the ependymomas, and um, we kind of just we lean on those around us to help kind of pull us through, because some days, it's hard to
You
hold on to
can't.
any kind of hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really we really lean on people around us mostly to help get us through.
Gotcha. So you've got a good support system around you. I mean, siblings or your parents or friends. Got a good support system there for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have a great support system. She actually has an older sister. Her name's Riley. She'll be 13 this year. So she
Wow.
yeah, I had them 8 years in between. So yeah.
5 years in between ours. And in a way, I'm
Oh, really.
grateful for it.
Woo, yeah. Yes. So she helps out a lot. But she also has her struggles and everything with, what's been going on with her sister, but we've got her, we've
How's
got
Riley handling it? If I can interrupt,
she's
how's Riley handling it?
no, you go ahead. Yeah, she has her days where she's kind of she's more reserved. She kind of just
Yeah.
keeps to herself.
Yeah.
That's kind of her way of how she deals with it, is just to kind of just stay back to herself. But we try to tell her in a way that it wouldn't. I mean, it's already scary telling her, but not to
Mhm.
terrify her
Right.
with what can happen. We kind of want her to not be scared that if she bumps her sister, it's gonna hurt her even more. Or we try to keep her to where she knows that her sister is still a child, and it's okay to play with her, and some things that Alayna does, it's normal for her age, and it's kind of normal for her circumstances.
Okay. Gotcha. What would you say you wish your friends or even strangers understood more about what you're going through?
It's a good question. It's I guess it would be that I don't know, it's harder it's hard having kids, and it's harder having children who have such a disease that are, that they don't respond the way that a healthy child would, and I'm not saying any of our friends or anybody thinks this, but it's different, and there's different things that go on in our life that we have to be especially careful of. Um, that she can't go out and play like contact sports or
Okay.
anything like that that could give her a head injury. So that's different as well. So we're
Yeah,
really kind of
hamstrung.
what you call a yeah. So our life looks a lot different than theirs do and theirs did. With healthy children, and
Mhm.
it's a lot more mentally taxing than what we let them see. So that's what I would say.
Gotcha. Okay. And I mean, despite everything that's going on, obviously you're there for her, you're showing up every day, you're pulling on that strength. What would you say is giving you that strength to keep that fight going for your daughter?
She definitely gives me the strength.
Yeah.
I can look at her and I can just say, I'm an adult, but she's a 4-year-old and I've seen her go through some horrendous things, and
Yeah.
I look at her and I say, if she can do it, I can definitely do it.
Yeah.
He gives me the strength, so
That's
yeah,
awesome. No, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, are there any little moments, either recently or in the past, just a laugh, a look, a hug, anything that you would say just was especially specifically remembering meaningful for you?
Like since her diagnosis, or is it just in general?
Well, in general, I mean, whether it's since the diagnosis or even pre-diagnosis, because obviously you know that things were occurring before you even received the diagnosis. And she was already having health issues that you were concerned about.
Yeah, I would think that the first time that I was able to hold her after her craniotomy, when I was, like, she was asking me to hold for her to she was asking for me to hold her, and I had to get the nurses in, and she had all of this stuff hooked up to her, so it was just, it was hard work getting her out of the bed to where I could hold her, and we got her settled, and I mean, she laid on me for like an hour after her surgery, and I just thought, this it's these little moments in the storm that just kind of help center you a little bit more, and it brings you back and kind of ground you,
Mhm.
knowing that you're still that person for them. They still,
Yeah.
they want you when they're scared, and that you can still have that moment with them despite everything else going on. It's really a sweet moment. So,
That's what it actually, there's a line in a movie that I saw once, and the main character tells someone, "Mother is the word for God on the lips and hearts of all children." And what you just said kind of brought that all to a point.
gosh, I love that. I'm going to remember that. Certainly. Oh my
What would
goodness.
you say this process has taught you, or, taught your husband, your daughter, as a family, as individuals? What what unexpected truths did you learn about yourselves during this process?
It would definitely be our unexpected truths. I know mine for sure would have to be just how strong I am. You know, I really had to dig down deep. Um, to make it through this without completely losing it. So yeah, mom would, 'cause, I knew I was strong, but I didn't know I could be this strong. And I
Okay.
guess it's different when it's your children or someone you love. You really find that reserve in you, and you pull from that reserve
Gotcha.
to get through. So that would definitely be my truth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you could give a piece of advice to someone that is just starting out, sadly or unfortunately, on this type of journey, what advice would you give them?
I would say that, it's it's okay to feel all the emotions. It's okay to handle it, you know, the way that you need, whether it's, screaming into a pillow or um going to a rage room and letting out all of the rage,
Yeah.
because it's hard
Oh,
to
yeah.
deal with. Yeah, and I know we got a notebook, so anytime we went to the doctors, the doctors came in the room, wherever we were, if we were around doctors and it pertained to her, we had our notebook and we would write down everything. Write down everything. It saved us so much. Because, when you're unfortunately in this situation, there's a lot of things going on at once and a lot of information being shared. And you're already sidetracked by, what you just been told and,
Yeah.
what you need to remember. And so,
Going in that rabbit hole of not my child, right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. That's exactly what it is. And, it's be compassionate with yourself. It's hard. You don't need to be any harder on yourself. You're doing the best you can, and be the best advocate for your child that you can, because no one else can do it for them but you. If you ever have any second thoughts, anything, always push for a second opinion, even a third opinion. If it doesn't sit right with you, follow through with it. It could make a world of difference to your child. And pertaining to health. Um, yeah, that's what I would say. Just be compassionate with yourself. Be easy on yourself.
Oh, that parental instinct when it tells you something, right?
Yes, because it's never wrong.
So, I'd say, what are the, I guess, thoughts from the doctor, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? They give you any type of potentiality or anything like that? What you're looking at moving forward?
Moving forward, they said, it's unpredictable. It can recur anywhere from months to years afterwards.
Okay.
So, she could be, falling back into normalcy, and then bam, it comes back, and they say it usually comes back in the same spot, or they say it really comes back in the spine in children.
Okay.
So they said, just look for the same signs that she was showing earlier before her diagnosis. Just got for that. They said, and the more radiation that she receives and the more craniotomies she receives, the more deficiencies she's going to have,
Yeah.
mentally and physically. Which, it's hard to deal with, because your brain is your control center. It controls
Yes.
everything. So anything
Yeah.
being messed with up there, it doesn't always. It doesn't always. It's not always good. But
Right.
with the therapies, speech therapy, physical therapy, all of that, we can help regain some kind of normalcy. But they did say that the chances of survival go up with the more that they get out. If they can do a full GTR,
Hmm.
which is the gross total resection, the better her chances
Hmm.
of survival are.
Okay.
But with her hopes, they're harder to completely reset because they're so aggressive.
Gotcha.
So they haven't given us a prognosis. I don't know if it's just her oncologist not wanting to really just throw that on us.
Right.
or if it's really just that uncertain. But just from what I've read, it's like I think a 49% chance for 5 year. Yeah, which
Okay,
it's not zero. So
it's better than 20. It's better than 30. You know.
yeah, so we're that's what we're holding on to right there is that 49% of it being okay. So yeah, so that's kind of what
Has
we've been
she
told.
demonstrated, aside from all the things she's had to relearn, have you noticed any potential deficiencies due to either the resection or the radiation?
Yes, actually, they said it does not affect behavior, but I don't know if it's just something that she's going through, a phase right now. But I've noticed a lot of frustrations, especially when she can't speak what she needs to speak. She gets hung up on her words, and she has to go back and
Gotcha.
instead of trying to repeat that one word, she has to repeat from the beginning of the sentence, and then she still gets hung up on that same word. So it's a cycle, and that gets her really frustrated. Another thing is we have not been able to get her fully potty trained, which
Okay.
we were in the middle of her using the potty and stuff when she got her diagnosis, and
Okay.
since then she wants nothing to do with it. um and she'll go a couple times unprompted successfully, but it's never consistent. um
Okay.
and then I would say, oh my goodness, what was I gonna say? Her attention. Her
Okay.
attention span, which she's 4. We expect that from a 4-year-old, but it's kind of
Squirrel.
like, yeah, yes, yeah. She's very, but she we can call her name. We'll say Alayna, and we'll be right beside her. She will not hear us. She won't answer us. Which I'm gonna get her set up for a hearing test because that part of the radiation to the brain, they said, can make her go deaf. So we're gonna set her up for a hearing test after that. I'm gonna remind myself of that. I will call her name a couple times, and she won't. But we'll be right there beside her, and we'll say it loud enough we know she can hear us. She won't answer. She won't respond. And then, uh, she either talks really, really low, or she'll yell. So it's kind of like, especially when she's trying to get your attention,
Extremes.
she'll kind of just whisper it to you, and you'll be like, "What did you say?" And she'll go, "Ah." So, it's kind of, one or the other. I call it,
Extremes.
quiet or AC/DC, it's one or two from her.
Classical or heavy metal?
Heavy metal, right?
Oh,
Yes.
but
But yeah, those are just,
it's so this the frustration you mentioned she feels, is that something that PTOT addresses with her, or is there a therapist that she sees that helps with those kinds of things for her?
we have not been able to, my goodness, we've been on the list for speech, and they said she didn't really need occupational therapy, so we didn't follow through with that. She seemed to be doing fine at the time, but now that, things seem to be getting a little rougher for her, we are going to look into
Right.
the occupational. But we've been waiting for a speech appointment for about 6 months now. Yeah. So, we waited, and it came up time for the first one, and it had to get rescheduled. So it's really hard to find those kind of resources around here. Without
Okay.
it being an extremely long waiting period.
That's
But
terrible.
we're hoping that speech helps. We'll get her back into speech therapy because she was in speech therapy before her diagnosis was even confirmed, which we think that also
Yeah.
went with the tumor. So we're hoping that speech therapy helps get her to where she can vocalize and not be as frustrated when she can't get it out, which,
Gotcha.
I would be frustrated too when I get hung up on words, but
Yeah, me too. Me too.
yeah. Yeah, but aside from that, that's really what we've been dealing with. So
Okay, so say, she grows up. It's years into the future and she comes across this, what kind of message would you want to give her?
To never, ever, ever doubt herself and what she is capable of. And that she is far much stronger and braver than she will probably ever give herself credit for. And she can truly do anything that she wants to put her mind to. It's just, it doesn't define her, you know, it's just
Gotcha.
something that she's been through,
Yeah.
and that she knows that we're always here to help her and love her and support her through whatever she may want to do. That she has been a light for so many people, and her strength has pulled so many people through. Um, and that she never doubts herself because she is one resilient child, and she'll grow up to be one resilient adult. So that's what I would want her to know.
Stick. That's awesome. Okay, is there anything that I haven't asked that you would want to tell the people out there?
um, you know, I can't really think of anything, honestly. I really can't.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a mind bender. I honestly believe going through something like this. There's no question about it. This is your child. It's everything. And I hope that everyone listening say a prayer for Alayna, say a prayer for the family, that it continues to be good news, that we don't see regrowth. And, leave a comment, leave a like, whether it's supportive, whether, this is something that you've been through and you want to leave words of support or even contacts to help. Anything that can help. That's what we're trying to do here. Build a community to support each other so that in this instance, Renee, your whole family, you're not alone. There's people that care. There's people that listen. For those of you out there, you're not alone. There are people that care and listen. But Renee, thank you so much for spending the time with us this evening. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Erica. I
I'll
do as well.
I'll I'll keep saying prayers for your whole family, and keep up the good fight and keep up the positivity. Mental health, physical health, it's cyclical, so we just keep going that
Yes.
way. And for all of you out there, comment, like, subscribe, and we're going to wrap this one up. And we hope to see you on the next show. Thanks.